Sadly, I didn't bookmark my spot from last time. But luckily I got a good memory. Except when your school is concerned. Shut up, Trixie! Under kind circumstances, Grape Indulgence would not have been the first pony to see her. Grape Indulgence saw lots of things. Depending on what he had been consuming at the time, roughly 70% of them didn't exist at all. 20% weren't what they were, and the remainder would be asked if he could spare a few bits for a drink. This led to hitting up a lot of fence posts for loans. He got a bit out of style once, fallen under the little bridge between pastures, and his subconscious had decided that the rest of the inanimate world was holding out for him. But he was the first, and after multiple attempts to refresh his memory, it turned out his memory needed a lot of refreshment. All of it liquid. What eventually emerged for him was this: heading home after a long day of work. His job? Drinking. No, really. An expert wine taster, with an exquisite sense of taste which could identify every indulgent in a 50-element blend under only one sip. No, 2 sips. 8. Give him another bottle. He wanted to be sure. Almost been certain where home was, at least that time, and surely would have gone there on the 5th attempt instead of somewhere. Well, just call it somewhere and leave it at that for now, okay? To get there, right? Why had he been anywhere near the area in the first place? Silly question. Local winemaker wanted an unofficial review of the product before he sent it to market. A little sneak preview what the experts were going to say about it. Invited over with a payment of some bits and a few bottles. But cheated out of the bottles. Must have been. Knew hadn't been cited for empties. Get down kind later. Get more bottles. Was to be full until they mysteriously turned empty too. Guy wasn't even a unicorn, and he was magicking bottles empty to feet. Gallops, fields, something or other, way down south. What was the question? Oh, what he had seen. How about seeing that bottle again first? Very gracious. Anyway, been somewhere. Could have been a farm. You know, one of those apple family outposts you get all over Equestria. Make excellent cider. Most excellent cider. Did you read the review on their crop from the 2 hours back? No? Pity. Saved a barrel, but some unicorn jerk made the contents of that one go away too. Anyway, there were apple trees. Lots of them. Big and healthy. That's how you knew an apple family orchard. Plus, might have tried to get a handout from the no trespassing sign once. Was really mean 2 hours back. Come to think of it, there weren't any signs around this one. Maybe they were wild trees. Which apples would claim soon enough for the sire, and not give him any more free samples. Jerks. Market monopolizing bastards. You know, every time I see alcoholic cider presented in the show, I get a little irked. Because I feel like people don't realize there is alcohol-free cider, right? You know this, right, people? Right? Hey, why are you so upset? Just said, really? Any stuff on you? Fine. Just have a few more of this. Okay, so there was this mare. Absolutely sure about cider, right? What about her? Oh, her. She was tall. Sure of that. Been some distance away, behind a bush. And don't ask about things done back there. And don't go and step in it either. But measure her against what a drinking contest would need. She sure looked tall. Could take lots of pints before falling behind and down easy. Oh, and her coat was blue. Eyes were tan. Horn was purple. Her remembered that for sure because it was so unusual. A unicorn with a horn that didn't match her coat? Did that mean she had the power to make liquid fans out of barrels? Did anybody know? Really? Then why was this bottle empty? Cutie mark? She had one. Can't describe it. Been trying to describe it for. Can't. Maybe later. Maybe never. Hard to look at. The center. Anyway, she wasn't moving well. Looked tired. Sort of like she was hurting. And a few little noises. Kind of stuff you read for somebody who had more than they could take when their stomachs start fighting the rest of them. Yeah, definitely hurting. What was that? Why hadn't he helped her? Look, she was all the way over there, all right? Across some distance, which was distance, and... Hey, did he want to know what was seen or not? So there she was. And she was looking at the apples hanging off this big old tree. Really old tree. Takes 5, 6 points to stand around the trunk. Looked healthy, hungry. And she looked kind of like she was trying to... You know, when you've maybe had a few and you get this really brilliant idea that's going to change the world, but you don't have anything to write it down on, nobody can understand what you're saying, you can't keep a quill steady in your mouth anyway, plus a box to drink, And then maybe after later, 2, 3, 5 days, you wake up, you want to get that idea back, but most of it without what what the stuff is. Your mayors of the world, and you sit there and you pace back and forth. You just know that somewhere in your brain is this great idea. If you think about it long enough, it'll come to you. But it just doesn't happen. And no matter how much more you drink, none of the liquid ever washes to the front. Yeah, I get that whenever I think about bad anime. She looked like she was trying to remember something she never knew. And there she is, twitching a little, hurting, staring at apples. There's this glow. You know the one. Yeah, that one. Good glow you've got going there. Real prime glow stuff. Keep it away from the bottle. Always really shaky glow. Throwing off lots of sparks. Like a filly who's working out the very first spell. Got a cousin. Really cute. Remember when she was just starting the previous cover cascades of lights. Sort of reaches forward from her horn, and it goes around one of the apples, just like their first real spell. A little weak, a little uncertain, but maybe it'll get the job done, you know? As he's pulling at the apple, but can't quite get it down. Wasn't one of those silver apples either. The ones that go rainbow if you can find them. At the right time, there's a really weak pull, or like she didn't know how hard to pull. You there, guiding fillies? Too young for that? Sister then. Yeah, I figured you for something that look on your face. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So they get so excited just to get a grip. They're not sure what the next part works. How much force he had to use. They don't have the feel yet. Old as she was. What? Maybe a couple years older than you? She didn't have it. So she doesn't know how hard to pull. And Adam's apple just kind of trembling at the end of the stem. Say wait, her knees were shaking. So naturally she must have. One more? Okay? Last one. Promise. No. Now. You need this. Need this ship to sail. It doesn't want to go be one because it has to get so tied behind it. It wants to stay dock. Please. So naturally, she must have decided she wasn't pulling enough, right? First thing, anybody's better think. Go get stronger. Thicker around the apple. Applying more force, right? You know how that works. Feels. Wishing for that feel sometimes. Never going to wish that again. Glow gets stronger. Thicker. Then kind of all at once. It goes up the branch and all around the other apples and down the trunk. This rush of glow. Don't know if she even realized what was happening. It was too fast. She's still pulling in. The whole tree breaks in half. That would be the last one, right? Horse apples. Well, at least it wasn't boring. Time passes during a teleport. Not much. A tiny fraction of what it would take to cross the same distance on hoof, but time. Time enough in the place between to remember. The party was drawing near its end. It might have been past it. Any party that saw Pinkie Pie asleep in a corner, on top of two other ponies, was probably due for an official closing ceremony. Any party which had Luna openly staggering about and yawning needed induction into some sort of Hall of Fame for parties which had gone above and beyond the call of partyhood. So you lost track of Princess Celestia, who was probably off to raise the sun, potentially for the second time. Yet Twilight was still wide awake, still felt like she'd never sleep again. Still as happy and confused, just a little then, as she had been her entire life. She had pioneered the official Yes, Yes, Yes royal dance early in the evening. It was just a pioneering effort. Every pony had copied it. An alicorn. Wings. Princess. What did it all mean? Well, being awesome, being the head of a rebellion, being a character whose only position was to give birth to twins, being the medical engineer, communications officer, and piloted the G-Fire on White Base, to be the diplomat who brings world peace, to be the cute little French girl, to be the head of an island designated for only peace. The jury's still out on if Minori is counted as a princess. Well, she is princess in my heart. Yes, Letta, I know. How much joy would there be in finding out? Her friends decided to share every wondrous discovery. She prodded in place just a little and hummed herself in delight. We I do not know if I said it to you. The soft voice, The one she liked best from all of Luna's many tones. The one she probably thought was the new moon, timidly whether it could wax. Luna's prong spine was the right to look. Blurry dark eyes was gazing at a spot somewhere above her horn. Depth. Focused on her. Without talking, focused again. But I am happy for you. I truly am. At first I was. Luna traded off and made an effort. Afraid. Is this going to go into a Twilight Luna ship? Because if it is, I'm all for it. I mean, actually, when was the last time we've ever done a Luna and Twilight ship on this channel? Whoa, we've never done it! I'm impressed. I mean, I would do Archmage, but Deathvic isn't done. Afraid of me? It had reached Twilight's face. Luna looked at her head. Afraid for you. A long pause. Too long. Long enough for Luna's large eyes to blink several times. For tiny bits of moisture to accumulate to corners. Promise me something, Twilight Sparkle. Also, friend. Oh, here we go. Ship on the port bow. Ship, please. Twilight waited, saying nothing. She had known to respond to Luna's pain on Nightmare Night. Look, I'm just saying that, Vic, either you give me a Twilight and Luna Vic ship to help offset the rest of the story, or B, you point to me to a really, really good Armoro / Char or Quattro / Trollific. It's either Galley or Yuri, people. Come on! Saying nothing. She had known how to respond to Luna's pain on Nightmare Night, seeing how to deal with a single darkness's worth of rejection. But the only way she could currently think of to answer 1,000 years' worth of isolation contained into a single mid-sentence break was to wait. So she waited then. Promise me, Luna whispered, that if the time comes, you'll not be me. The left front hoof came up. The silver shoe touched Twilight's shoulder. Slowly, each word forced past a millennium of wait. The voices come. You do not listen. The temptations will be offered. You laugh. They hold out everything you've ever wished for. And you say you have all you ever need. That you are yourself and those around you, those who love you, are enough forever. So you leaned forward, eyes closed. Hard touch the horn. Oh, come on! Promise me, Twilight Sparkle. To be Twilight Sparkle. And to be content. Slowly, carefully, Twilight tried to raise her right hoof to touch the other Alcorn's shoulder. It wasn't easy. Luna was taller than she was, and had gained no height in the transformation. Was that right? Gaines was taller. Celestia was a giant amongst ponies. Gee, I wonder if that was just because the producers decided to really end this off on a proper Twilight Celestia note. The light of day and night, possibly day again, had caught up to her in a flood of royal anguish. To her knowledge, Luna had never talked about what had happened. Would never talk about it. This was the closest she'd ever come. A they somewhere on the world. An offer. What would they offer Twilight? Nothing. I have everything I need in every pony. Except for you, Luna. Oh, Twilight. Oh, Luna. Oh, Twilight. Oh, yeah! Yes, folks. I see still remembers her little teaser. They remained in that position for some time, long enough for Twilight to realize that, venturing out those asleep, unconscious, or dozing in chandelier, they were the last of the party. Finally, Luna dropped her hoof, pulled back, and managed a tiny and sleepy smile. I will believe you, she said. The next pause was somewhat awkward. Tia, and then a hasty recovery. Celestia sending you back tomorrow, or the day after today. Today may be tomorrow. I am not quite, a long blink. What time is it? Should I be loitering? Twilight was only too happy with the relief from the resounding giggle. I think Princess Celestia has it. She must have wanted to let you stay at the party. You were having so much fun. And then it penetrated. Tomorrow? But I have so many questions. All we did today was celebrate. I need to learn about how to be a princess. You two... Luna shook her head. The stars in her mane twinkled. She feels the Tron system would be easier for you if you do it at home, among friends instead of isolated in the castle. And I do not feel like arguing. Gee, I wonder if this is because even Celestia knows that Twilight works best when she is with her friends, and Celestia also knows that Twilight already had all the ingredients of being a leader. Am I the only one who remembers this? My God, I even wrote one of my earliest Christmas stories of describing Twilight as being a mare who spoke with the air of a princess. You want to know why? Because we've seen Twilight already act like a leader multiple times. Twilight really doesn't need a book. Jeez. I feel like the best response would be for any of this would be, this is something you can learn on your own, Twilight. It comes from experience. There is no magical book. There, done, solved, easy as done. Bye. Next episode, please. Twilight dropped it, because she knew that look. Luna had not felt like arguing because Luna did not see a need to argue. Princess Celestia had come to a decision. Both thrones had passed the newest of laws, and it really held for sun and moon. Twilight was going home, without lessons, probably without even books. Although that was just Twilight kidding herself. Surely there would be a new shelf waiting in the library for a private study, and every last word written by one of the three. Really, how hard it could be being a princess, just being. She was a good student. She would learn. Oh, and I know there was a commentary track on an old pony comedy video where he said, yeah, there should be a book on how to be a princess that Twilight needs to learn. Why is everybody laughing? Well, you want to know why everybody's laughing? Well, let me break this down. You see, the writers know Twilight's an egghead. And they know that Twilight's best reaction would be, is there a book for me to learn? They also know what makes the audience, those younger than you, laugh, which is character moments. So, they had Twilight ask a question that would make the kids laugh. Because, I don't know if you know this, because I kind of got shocked when I found out. This show is partly comedy, too. I know. Shock, isn't it? She changed the subject. It's been so strange to me, just having all these ponies, well, obey me, she told Luna. Even with the ones who just wanted my attention before this, because I was her student. Ah, there it is. I was hoping for you to put that in. Sorry. Just one tiny problem. We never saw it in the show. You're making shit up. You are making crap up just to make Twilight's life worse. Shame. They wouldn't treat everything I said as an order. It's been hard not to see it as a game, having every point give me what I want. She had, in a moment of weakness, ordered fruit that was half a year out of season. Arrived 5 minutes later. Had no idea where it came from. Luna smiled, but this bit of mirth carried a touch of sadness around the corners of her, and her voice sounded like she was quoting another. They would give royalty anything they desired, she said, except the desire not to be royalty. And Twilight didn't understood. She did now. Twilight opened her eyes. You know, I have a theory. I believe that in spite of all them saying that they can't read fanfics, and I believe them, the rules say they can't. That doesn't mean they haven't. And I feel like they read these dark, bad things happening to these characters that wouldn't happen in the show normally. And then they do the opposite. To troll you. To make you, go crazy. Just to show you how silly that thought is. Oh, and don't try to dirty this up with, it's subverting expectations. No. This is called trolling. This is called paying attention to the fan base and messing with you. To get this type of attention. They are laughing at you, while laughing with those of us who are into joke. The teleporter brought her in under the library. In the room she used for research, spent far too time in lately. So much little time lately. So much dust. Mirrors were no longer calibrated. Mixtures which had to be thrown out before they changed to that last brief new hue on her own. Spike outright refused to clean this section, citing a very strong dragon code dedicated to not dying. He was standing in the circular tracks Spike had suggested she dig out here, instead of wearing away any of the wood of the tree's ground floor. Twice pacing place, used when she really had to think. Or more realistically, for when her thoughts were going around in a tighter, somewhat more inescapable circle than the one she was about to walk in. Um, a question from those of us who like to ask you the hard questions. Why is Twilight ignoring her lab? What's stopping her from just spending time there? Th- th- by your admission, she's a princess, so there's nothing really stopping her from saying entrance barred and then working on her lab. There's really nothing here to stop her. She made herself head to the market rather than coming home immediately. Why? Because she needed a distraction. She had been thinking about Pinky's question, everybody's question, and now hers again. She still hadn't completely wanted to. Had she been looking for a reminder of her other problems instead, going back to the most recent emotional turmoil rather than failing to wrestle a news storm from the sky? Was she that desperate? Actually, that sounded like her all over. New crises arise while others are still in progress. First response: check schedule of all current crises. See when they have a free moment. Ask Spike to send a few messages. And arrange for a group outing in order to save time and effort. Find out if any crises would be interested in solving another. Tell the compatible ones to consider dating. Go to the marketplace had been a way of not thinking about Pinky's question, and attempt to remind herself of how much else he had to think about. Well, this was the place she used for thinking about things she couldn't solve or get away from. Twilight started walking. Dear Princess Celestia, today, Pinkie Pie asked me how alicorns breed and whether we, give birth to either alicorns or a unicorn, Earth Pony, or Pegasus, who might one day become an alicorn. I've already answered this question. I think we need to set up an experiment. As there are four of us, two of us will become the experimental group while others become the control. The experimental pair will have sex with members of all three races, possibly the crystal ponies, depending on how they fit in order to become pregnant. Should the foals not be alicorns at birth, they will be timed for the frequency of how often each race emerges, and follow throughout their lives to see what percentage of any alicorn receive alicorn status. Naturally, I will need a list of all your past sexual partners, a comprehensive breakdown of your family tree from 3 generations before birth, whenever that was, to the present day, along with all previous data you might possess, so I can see how our current study compares to the recent historical record. Incidentally, if Key is any kind of 20 cousin to you, this would be the time to mention it, as this would be a great time to explain Blue Blood, so I can pass it on to Rarity and watch her laugh. Yes, I understand my brother is going to complain about this. Tell that if he wants me to consider his feelings, he shouldn't tell me he's getting married to whom just before the wedding. Of course, in order to work with such proper sample size, the two members of the experimental group would expect to be pregnant at every possible moment over several decades. The needs of science exist. Now you may be wondering what the control group is supposed to do. It may come as a surprise to learn that I know all about the most special spell in the adult marriage only section of the library, because I snuck in there for my third year and read it, even if I didn't understand it until my seventh. So experimental pair breeds with a carefully selected pool of volunteers, the control group. By the way, this would be a really good time to tell me if I'm in your family tree. How many generations are there between the two of us? And similar details relating to Keens. Will of course be, you know, if this was an in-character Twilight Sparkle comedy fic, Celestia would send her the family tree, which would be a literal tree, by the way, and the records, and then even some old paintings of her old bows, and then would do the same for Luna. Only for Luna to yell out no, which would lead to a pillow fight. And then Celestia would cheer and teleport over, grab Twilight and go, all right, fine. Mare's night out. Come on, Twilight! And then proceed to head to Las Vegas. Or Celestia will write Twilight a letter going, Twilight, the only way to properly experiment with this is to do what several anime have taught us. As a matter of fact, I recommend talking to one of the best comedy anime out there, Rama. And that answer is Harem! No, just no. More circling. Dear Princess Celestia, I want to thank you for throwing me back to Ponyville after my transformation without by my own royal leave, with absolutely no information on how to be a princess. You know my problem with this whole entire Celestia has to give Twilight information, and Celestia has to give Twilight all this knowledge and, all this other malarkey. You want to know my problem with this? Twilight's a researcher. She could get off her ass and do it on her own. This always annoys me with some people. They want Celestia to give out the answers. They want everything to be handed to you. Well, guess what? I don't have my DM give me everything. I'm not expecting Celestia to give me everything. And if Goddess tries to give me all the answers, I will go, shoot! Shoot! Are you sure? I have all the answers too. Especially not you, Alistair! Go! Go, 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 go! Alright, but there were answers on how to woo Applejack. Let's bring her! No! Yes, Trixie. It's been 3 weeks and I have no idea how my Alcorn powers, if I have any, work. You could study them. Go to a field with rainbow gas and study. My unicorn magic feels no stronger than usual. Gee, is that because you already possessed the power of an alicorn even when you were a unicorn? I can't access a single Pegasus building in my flying. To borrow a word from a certain rainbow Das has been dying to use during all the flying buddy excursions I keep putting off bucks. So you're not taking lessons from Das. Why? It bucks. You'll forget the term, which I'm halfway certain I'm now entitled to use, royally. Take lessons from Rainbow Dash. I do not think any of this has been helped by the fact that you completely forgot to tell me what I'm the princess of. That will come to you. I suppose friendship would be the expected answer, but this begs a certain number of questions about how you, Luna, and Cadence became alicorns. Shouldn't that be in the history books? Read! Freaking Twilight, you are a researcher! Read a book! You want to know where those books are? Go to the library. And then search on your own. Big. Okay. Thick. I'm going to scare this Twilight. Twilight, it's time for you to be a mare. It's time for you to be an adult. Now, put on your big girl panties. Put on your big girl pants. Put on your big girl dress. Put on your big girl hat. Go to the library and read all that. And then proceed to, once again, put on your big girl glasses. On your big girl pencil. And then take those big girl notes and read and read and read some more. Then proceed to go to the library and then get the card. Get another library card. Go there, everywhere. It's quite scary when you think about it that I'm asking you to be an adult. I mean, geez, what do I do when I want to research on serial killers? I went to my library and I found a book on serial killers. You don't need, I did not ask my teacher or my mother or anybody else to tell me. Be an adult! Because you said Starswirl didn't transform due to not understanding friendship like I do. You can't all be 3 princesses the same thing, right? Especially when I know you're all princesses of other things. What would you have been the Alcorn had he changed, since you pretty much implied it can happen to males? Or does friendship just the power to change? In which case, the previous paradoxical statement on what helped you with those 3 elements the previous times. I think I'd better say some of this for another point. The point is, you pushed me out here with absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do, or how to go about doing it, and I am, I believe, understandably irritated by this. Do other people who have to adult do this? Do they just go, I was thrown out here, I didn't have any waiting. Wait. On the other hand, You originally threw me into the playing field with instructions to go out and make some friends, while giving me absolutely no information on how to do that either. So you're consistent. You don't get. You want to know what Celestia was also telling you to do? She was also telling you to go out and have a life. That was what she was doing. Making friends was going to come naturally. Because if she gave you lessons or told you how to, you and your ADHD riddled mind would then proceed to list it all and then follow it all by the book. Then you wouldn't be friends naturally. If this fic is supposed to be smart, right? This fic is supposed to be intelligent, right? Not for the first time. It occurred to Twilight that she became a staircase when she was tired. She became sarcastic when she was tired. Only when she was tired? The circle group getting deeper. Try again. Dear Princess Celestia, in the days you were a unicorn, no. Pegasus, still no. Dear Princess Celestia, when I first came here, the other ponies in town understood that I was the president as your royal representative. No, you were a student. And some of them treated me the way I was often treated in school, and some point to be sucked up to, because I was a gateway to you. But my future friends didn't. Once I moved here and became town librarian, after that, even with all the things you kept giving us to do, all the things we accomplished, most of the ponies still treated me as just that, the town librarian. Because they had gotten to know me, which admittedly didn't always wind up with a good reflection on me. Now you remember the Smart Pants incident, still kind of wish I didn't. But on the whole, they accepted me as a pony. Not he turned to the door to unlock the palace. Sometimes derived unicorns with obsessive tendencies, but I still was to feel that they were limited with social skills. Somehow, those citizens accepted me anyway. My friends were my friends. But now I'm a princess. My friends safely remain my friends. So, it's all good. Nearly everybody else seems to think they're my subjects. You know, why wouldn't they treat you like royalty when they hear you're the princess's student? That's the problem with trying to put in realism. When you're trying to make realism for one side of things, you're going to start asking more logical questions, which, ironically enough, tends to break down your previous argument. Unbearable, isn't it? Always keep trying to do me favors. I have a hard time paying for anything anywhere in town except a bakery and a closed sofa shop. The king seemed to understand, and Davenport will be happy when he has every bit I have ever possessed. He has instituted the royal price increase. I think he's decided that royalty must be rich. I am 2 additional percent margin away from ordering an assumed name. I know none of these ponies are doing so because they feel it's their duty. You can't charge royalty, right? Others feel that they do for me favors, I will return them, using more royalty authority when it's completely certain you don't have. You offered me the first pick of your garden, and I have seeds for the royal private greenhouse bought in. I'll free lunch today, and I rezone to town to get rid of the competition across the street tomorrow. Or at least Mr. Flankerton has formally convinced himself, possibly because that's the only way he'll ever sell any week-old fungus spotted on the grass he keeps trying to pass off as a gourmet appetizer. Celery me and delicacy, please recommend it to all the friends you will no longer have after you force them to eat the harmful stuff too. I know you're aware of newspapers sending ponies to stalk me. There's a lot of pros that, and thank you for passing it. There's a lot of other grateful celebrity ponies out there too, and I know you and Luna may gain more than a little incidental benefit. Although unleashing Luna with nothing more than a not injured as a guideline might be a licensed entertainment than anything else, but the press is still free, and giving me power to legally stop unwanted photography never keeps ponies or trying to or halts the flood of stories or how I keep stopping unwanted photography. And what does the crutchiest news princess have to hide? They're just going to find out about the Smarty Prince incident. I just know it. Polly's come for cities away to use the library. No, to get my autograph on the book when I sign it out. Incidentally, I'm losing books at a frightful rate. A look of suggestions on stopping it. Research into an automatic teleport spell will recover any book that has become overdue began last week. Send letters! Polly's asked to have their picture taken with me. Some are moving here because they believe Ponyville will become the next character lot. They want to get in on early before the delay boom really hits, and home prices begin to soar. If it didn't start becoming the new character lot after the saviors of the fucking planet twice over lived there, I don't think it's going to become the new character lot now! All I have is a collection of letters I sent to you over the last few years and lessons they contained. Lessons I've learned so much later, simple things I'm proud to say. I now understand, embarrassed by the amount of time I needed to realize the truth. Certainly, most of those ponies already know the basics, learned them as fillies and colts. I don't know what I could say to them. Most of the time, I just come up with something from Bank Lee's quotations. The ones that don't recognize source seem happy, while those who visibly think I'm dismissing them, pushing them, pushing them away because they were wasting my time. They are knocking at my door at all hours. After the first week, I used a seal spell as soon as the library closed. You probably saw the story about Lee's princess feels he's too good for common ponies, locks out world. I did. I could go on, but I think you had the essence of it. You know, Twilight, I don't know how a bear who has schedules all over the place doesn't schedule a meeting time. I might have never been a normal pony, not really. Not with being your student and an element bearer. And the most powerful unicorn on the planet, let's not forget that, of all my friends that I did. Sometimes just what they did, with me playing a small part or not. Well, once I left Camelot, Ponyfield treated me as if I was, with all the good and bad that came with it. It took me moons to live down to why it needed 3 days to personally apologize to every pony by name, with Piggy Pie following me around because he had them all memorized. But now I'm a princess. I am not normal. Yeah, Twilight. Before becoming a princess, you were a normal. You are a normal, rich, very rich bear living in the most priciest slag town in existence. Yep, you are a normal mayor. A normal mayor who went to a prestigious school. Yep, very normal. A normal mayor with a big brother who was capable of producing powerful shield spells. Yep, a normal mayor. A normal mayor who was possessing the ancient weapon of awesomeness known as the elements. Yep, a normal mayor. You are a normal mayor who was the personal student and surrogate daughter of the queen of the entire fucking continent. But a normal mayor. You were friends with a very fast pony. One who could break records and probably could have been a Wonderbolt as he just barged in and said, "Hey, make me a Wonderbolt." Yep, a normal mayor. You were about as normal as Armor Ray. Toshi Kabuto. You are about as normal as Takashi Hongo. You're about as normal as any given Sentai hero in existence. You, ma'am, are about as normal as Logan is in World War II. Honey, you are not normal. Not. Alright, I don't have half of what you got. I just have my bookstore, my studio, and my little brother in his recording room right next door. You are not normal. And when every day passes, I wonder more and more if what I gain can ever replace what I lost. I'm starting to wonder if there's a way to go back. I'm starting to want to go back. Yeah, to being Celestia's personal student, most powerful unicorn on the planet, etc., 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 etc. Again, see the normal part. I don't know what to do. Please help me. Your faithful and incredibly sacred student, Twilight Sparkle. Bing! A few seconds later, dear Twilight Sparkle, grow the fuck up. You are not a normal pony. You never were a normal pony. You were blessed with amazing abilities that put you above normal ponies. You are a very rich pony. You have a very rich brother now. You are not normal. You've never been normal. If I take this away from you, all you're going to do is explode. Yes, I said explode. Because your magical power is too much for a normal unicorn to handle. You would blow up. It would kill you. But go, by all means, continue to claim that you are normal. Because I am not talking to a normal filly. Do you know how many ponies would accidentally fall into your lap and handle it by your own? Several. I was given extremely special abilities when I was born. And you want to know what I did? I grew the buck up. I took the responsibilities in stride. You want to know what Seluna did? She grew the buck up. Because that's what you do. You are not a child anymore, Twilight. And I will not treat you like a child. You are an adult. You have the ability to figure things out on your own. You have the ability to live your own life. You do not need your mother holding your little bitty hoof. But by all means, continue asking me this. Continue talking to me like this. For I will treat you like a child, like you deserve. I will call your mother, and she will guide your hoof. Would you like that, Twilight? Would you like to live with your mom and father again? Because that's what you are. You are being a child. Now, grow up and please live your own life. Yeah, I said it. Live your own life. You're free, Twilight. You do not need me. You do not need me holding your hoof. Go, be free. Live and explore the wild range. I will be here waiting for you. Your ex-teacher and very pissed off mother, Celestia. It was nearly a true letter. It wasn't everything she was feeling, but contained enough that the princess might guess at what she had been unsaid, and gently bring those subjects on her own. The words were some of the ones he needed to say, which had been haunting her. It might start the dialogue which brought her to some kind of solution, or told her that across 1,000 years and more experience, there had been none to be found. The second letter learned that only answer was no answer at all. She had originally been sent to Ponyville to deal with things, with her friends, but how would they help her? And sometimes briefly alone. And how could she help herself? Well, let's see. Rarity can give you diplomat lessons. Rainbow Dash can teach you how to fly. Applejack can talk to you like a normal mare and teach you how to handle things like this. And maybe get a few words edgewise. Pinkie Pie could have a giant stop treating Twilight like a party, like start treating Twilight like a normal pony party. And Fluttershy could help you learn to be calm. You know, that kind of thing. So he had more success than others, crossing failures where others had come to help save her from himself. But was he expected to keep going the same way? See her friends, trying to find solutions where none may exist, given no time. She stopped, looked at the last composed letter in her head, the dearly true one. Realized she wouldn't be sending it. She didn't know she was strong enough to send it. Because when she stripped away all the careful phrasing reports of minor incidences and little jokes, it came down to one basic statement. Dear Princess Celestia, I'm scared. Give me my bottle. It tastes like baby. Wait, wait. I'll leave it to you to figure out which I added. The fire had been out for hours. Firefighting in Equestria tends to be a team sport. Pig aside, bring every wire-bearing cloud they can find, plus a few more made on the spot with those with no talent, and dump their contents over the external portions of the blaze. Unicorns catch some of the deluge in their fields and try into the interior sections. Earth ponies wearing special full-body suits bring out any victims. It's one of the professions which doesn't work anywhere near as well when done by a single race. Unicorns technically can't conjure up water, and never in large quantities. Pig aside are unable to precision direct it, and Earth pony bucket brigades do more damage to the brigadiers in the fire. There are emergency ranchers available, but those tend to make the fire look a little better option. High-pressure hoses exist, but given the typical strength of the mouse, the average field generally turns to exercises extremely unintentional comedy. This particular fire had been put out very quickly by the 9-point team, largely because there wasn't that much left to burn. The house in question was so far away from the rest of the town that the smoke hadn't been sighted for what the firefighters were guessing had been nearly too long, and most of the initial plumes had been surrounded by suspiciously too frequent trees, which had hidden most of the property from above. Thankfully, few of those had even come close to catching a blaze. The isolation was only geographic. Police went out there all the time, of course, and at all hours. The owner's occupation guaranteed traffic was to do no temporal ties to the patterns of sun and moon. His clients had been temporarily linked to the right now, oh dear, oh please, oh Celestia, it's happening right now, a sort of thing no pony could schedule in advance. So they all ran there, or flew, in one extreme or frequently recounted case, teleported, and while inadvertently dragging a small portion of their bedroom out of wall or rock garden along. Because he's the one they needed. The one who would actually make all things right when no other pony could. Of course, they were doing so in the belief that he was actually at home, not helping some pony far away. But even when that happened, he would somehow get back in time. It was legendary for being just enough time. So it came no surprise, and a welcome heart-saving relief, to the firefighters that there was no body to remove from the ashes. Somewhere, some pony had been going through that forever dawning emergency, and had come to make things best as he could. He was all right, wherever he was, but the house was mostly gone. Some of the team hopefully wept that. Stallions and mares alike started forming a plan for a community building project to make the replacement. Not that the occupant could afford to do it himself, of course, but they owed it to him. Some of them owed everything to him. The ponies they could say were all once over Equestria. Once they heard about this, there would be more hoof power gathered in one place than any pony knew what to do with. A few of them started planning the routes for Pegasi couriers. Others drew up replacement home designs in their heads. Everyone went started with a large waiting room. Several citizens of a somewhat nearby town were sent out to try and find him, tell what had happened to his home, and comfort him in his newest hour of grief. The three board ponies waited for the arson investigator to arrive and confirmed this was clearly an accident. That's not kind of arson at all, because no sane pony would have ever tried to burn this house down. The residents certainly wouldn't have done it. Thought itself went right past sarcastic and came fairly close to heresy, but there were rules. Arson had to be definitely crossed off the list. The sooner the possible ugliness was eliminated, the better. Arson is rare in the question, but it does happen. Oh my god, I don't need to know this! So they waited for hours, while the specialist was still fighting in town, finding emergency carriers from Manhattan. Then prepared to wait for more as he performed her exacting task. Check for the telltale chemical traces of dragonfire, because it did happen every few years, although mostly with some idiot infested posting final code down fire to second, wondering why the lady just. Check for the more commentary incendiary adjuncts, check for magic, and her field flared as the spell picked up traces of power. It changed color to a reflected tint. But not from our old steady pink to the typical angry red displayed by dedicated arsonists. Shimmering gold, slightly metallic with just hints of sparkles around the edges, nearly invisible in the warm gleam of soft yellow, a color she'd never personally seen before. Once she did associate it with a deliberate burn. She searched. Now she had the flavor of the spell. Finding the actual source was a matter of minutes, since the actual spell was still active. Head for the harshest part of the fire. Pick her way through the ashes using a spot casing to the tent, and avoid the last of the danger zones. And then, well, after she finally noticed the fallen paneling aside to reveal what lay beneath, wasn't could be any more invisible. She tried to analyze it. It failed. Called her ponies in. More hours sent out the firefighters were desperate to get home. They failed. Tried to find other ways. The pattern maintained. The spell was somewhat transparent. As you can see, there were no survivors waiting for rescue or bodies waiting removal. But for the sake of the former homeowner, it had come down eventually. And at one time had been the origin of the spell. And who knows he was capable of this? Then he still had to be found. In fact, if he cast it, then what had happened? And what had happened to him afterwards? More search parties were sent out, this time with extra urgency. Word was passed from pony to pony, the express route moving at the speed of rumor. Inevitably, the news began to spread across the continent, heading directly for Canterlot, who would stop and reroute to Ponyville.